Shutter Sound Music. Shutter Sound
Good
Music.
evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Black College Experience. I am one half of your Black College Experience team in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and the founder of Black College Experience, the one and only Diva Keisha Kelly in Atlanta.
Good evening, everybody. It has been a long, wonderful weekend in Black College sports. It has been a championship weekend. It's been a lot of surprises, a lot of upsets. A lot of things happen in HBCU sports as far as basketball that, of course, I couldn't have predicted. I know my prediction was wrong with North Carolina A&T. But, you know, we'll get into that a little later. So we'll go ahead and I guess we'll just kick off with general news.
Well, the general news, we can start off with you being at the SWAC tournament. We want to start off with the SWAC tournament first. Kels, in your travels,
okay,
you've been going around to different events, and you were on hand to see SWAC champions crowned on yesterday. So before we talk about the actual results, talk about the experience and the excitement in the arenas as you got a chance to witness firsthand some history in women's basketball, I would say, but just on the men's side, two teams from the West just battling it out. So talk about your experience watching the SWAC tournament play out.
Well, watching both Southern and Jackson State, both Southern was number 1, Jackson State being number 4, watching two very competitive teams play. It was really exciting. The atmosphere, it was really great energy because you had fans from both Southern and Jackson State. And then, of course, you had TSU Prairie View in there. They had some Valley, some Alcorn, Alabama A&M, Alabama State. So it was a lot of support from, from both sides or from all schools, rather, just supporting the conference in general, being that it was in Birmingham. And it was a great environment. Walking in, they actually had maybe 6 to 8 vendors that was selling Greek paraphernalia, school paraphernalia, anything you wanted. They had it. They had all the Greeks. They had everything. All the school stuff. They had everything that you wanted. So that was pretty exciting. And then they had sponsor tables. So the Toyota Green Initiative, they were doing giveaways. They had Cricket Wireless. It was a really great, atmosphere. And, I say this because it's like people always say, well, we need to do. But I really commend Commissioner Dr. McClellan for all the effort that they're doing with the SWAC.
Yes.
Because I can already see the turnaround with the conference. Like, yes, you can see a major turnaround. Walking in, it's a packed parking lot. You walk in and you see vendors to the left and to the right. You see sponsorships. You see the commissioner up talking to people, shaking hands, doing the live broadcast, talking to fans. That's the kind of atmosphere, the kind of experience people look for. Mm-hmm. Somebody that they can talk to. That's not like, oh, you're the president, but you're the commissioner. So he's very active, very involved. It was a great, it was a great atmosphere. Of course, running into some of my Southern Jaguars and getting the chance to actually see my team go on to compete and getting the chance to see them actually win a championship. It was exciting. Watching Texas Southern and Prairie View battle it out, listening to all 4 of the school's pep bands. I didn't realize, they brought their pep bands, but listening to all 4 of those pep bands was really good. So it was a really great experience, overall.
Right, and it's funny you mentioned Commissioner McClellan. He has been a guest on Black College Experience, and definitely going to try to get him back to talk about his first year. I'm going to probably ask him to come on probably in the summer when there's no sports coming on, so he can have a little break to kind of, decompress from the year, because when he was on the beginning of the year, he was still very, very new to the position. But it was clear that he had a vision for the SWAC. And in this short time, in his first year of his reign as a SWAC commissioner, like you said, Kels, you can see the turnaround. Growing up, the SWAC was always the talk of the town. Yes, I was a Mississippi State fan from the time I was 9 years old, but the SWAC was where it was at. I mean, we had packed houses when the SEC didn't have packed houses back in the day. I mean, and for this to happen now, a SWAC born and bred commissioner, that's what people have been asking for, and that's what we have. And he knows what the SWAC should be like. He lived it. He grew up in it. So who better than to lead the turnaround to get the SWAC back to the respectability that it had back in the day? Back in the day, we had Walter Payton. Back in the day when Jackson State was drubbing people. You know, back in the day when my Delta Devils were beating people. So it's good to see our home conference destined for greatness. I'm excited, and it's just great to see that. Now, I wish you could. I should have told you to get me a Sigma shirt or something, man. Since they had that Greek paraphernalia being sold there.
Yeah, they had everything. T-shirts. They even had two guys where you could actually, what it was like you could personalize what you wanted. So they had like little helmets where you could actually get your, like the school or your Greek organization on the helmet.
Oh, wow.
They had the baseball, like a kaleidoscope. You look inside the baseball. They had your Greek organization or your school inside. And then they even had like a box, like a kaleidoscope box. You look in the box, same thing, school or Greek organization. But it's however you design it. But they had a lot of great things, and it was just great because that's one of our things. You know, HBCU grads, Greeks, that's our two things. That's the two things we hold on to. Yes. So no matter where you go, that's the two things that you want your organization or you want your school, and for you, it's both. So you know that's the proud moment.
Yes, indeed. I want to welcome to the show my line brother Patrick Perry. What's going on, PP? How you doing?
All right. Y'all can hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, my line brother calls in almost every week when we have the show. I'm definitely thankful. But Kels was at the SWAC tournament, and we're going to go ahead and kick off the show talking about the games. And here was the rundown. We're going to talk about the games leading up to the championship. And the first game that I want to talk about is a game between our schools, Kels. You know, my Delta Devils took on your Jaguars, and I hope we could have won, and you were kind of quaking in your boots because we did have the lead before the game ended, but we fell to your Jaguars 51-44. Talk about that game briefly.
Well, you know, it was one of those situations, and I think the whole week, starting out with that, we talked about how, you know, the Devilettes have played pretty solid, not even just the girls, but also the guys in the last couple of years, you know, how they played really well. And actually, being honest, I had this same conversation with somebody for 2 hours driving back from Birmingham. I was like, you know, soon, Valley's going to be okay. They're going to be okay in every aspect of Valley. Y'all going to be fine. But, you know, it was 51-44. If you look at that, that's not that many points. That ain't like 51 to like 8. That's not a lot of points. 51-44 is not a lot of points. So, you know, when you're looking at that and you're going from one game going into another, you have to think about even when you went to the next game and then you went to the last game, it's like it wasn't like we were actually playing at a point. We played enough to win, but Valley did give us a run for the money.
And that's all we want to do. Now, up next, you had Prairie View defeating Alabama A&M 69-46. Jackson State defeated Alabama State 75-59. Grambling State defeated Texas Southern 72-61. In the semifinals, we had the Battle of the Bayou Classic on the hardwood. Southern Jaguars against the Grambling Lady Tigers. And Chicago Hill, you know, couldn't work her magic as your Lady Jaguars sent the Tigers home, you know, just like y'all did at the Bayou Classic, defeating Grambling in a very, very close game, 71-69. And what I want to also say, just look at these scores. These were hard-fought games. You had some blowouts, but down the stretch, these games were hotly contested. A 2-point win for your Lady Jags to defeat Grambling. The next game, even though it was won by 8 points, the Lady Tigers defeated the Lady Panthers of Prairie View in 2 overtimes. Kels, I know you. If you was at that, did you see that game?
I heard about it. They said that they actually didn't leave out of Bill Harris, or they didn't leave out of there till after midnight.
Wow. And that was against your former coach, Coach Pugh, against rookie head coach Tamika Reed. And the rookie took out the vet. You don't see that too often.
Right.
And then came the championship game between Southern and Jackson State. The jukebox classic on the hardwood. Now, Coach Funches for Southern has been an assistant coach, I think, definitely over 10 years for the Lady Jags, taking over for Coach Pugh at Southern. And he knew that team. What's that?
Yeah, I want to say it's been 13, 12,
years.
13, 15 years, something like that. Mm-hmm.
So, even though he lost his star player in Green last year, and I got a chance to watch the lady play, she's a warrior. Coach Funches knew this team inside and out. So he was stepping into a position where he was very familiar with his squad. Jackson State, on the other hand, was on complete rebuilding under Coach Reed. And the Lady Tigers has not had a lot of success, but Coach Reed has a knack for rebuilding teams, which she did at Hines Community College in Utica. And she worked her magic this year at Jackson State, getting the number 3 seeded Jackson State Tigers into the championship game against Southern. And they fell 45-41. And your Lady Jaguars are the SWAC champions in women's basketball. Kels, how does that feel?
It was a really proud moment. The reason behind it being a proud moment, again, I sat there and I watched Jackson State and I watched Southern play, and I guess the most defining moment is the fact that I hadn't been to a SWAC championship because it's always in Houston, and the fact that it was here in Birmingham and my team is in it the first time it's in Birmingham was a really proud moment. So it's like, okay, you can't miss that game. It's only 2 hours away. You got to go to Birmingham. And to actually walk in and see it, Southern was actually up by 10 points not by 10 points, was actually in the lead by 4 points or so at halftime. And so, to see it all just unwind at the last minute, they were, and I do believe in this case that they were just out-coached, but they played a hellified game with Jackson State. In the end, I think they were just exhausted. I mean, you played a double overtime the night before. They was just tired. And that's when I was sitting on the sideline talking to, Jackson State coaches. I was like, these girls tired. That's all it is. Everybody's ready to go home. But to watch my team actually win a championship and, to get a chance to talk to Coach Funches and to get a chance to see the girls, everybody's emotional. And I actually, got a chance to snap it up with MVP of Lyric Scott. So, it's a great feeling to see where you coming from and see where you're going.
Yes, indeed.
And to add to that, we were predicted to finish 4th in the preseason.
Oh wow!
I guess people kind of sort of purposely forgot that we still had an assistant coach. I don't know what people were thinking because Coach Pugh left. We were just gonna crumble. Same team, still same head. I don't know. Same assistant. I just don't know what they thought. But to actually win it all after we were ranked 4th in the preseason was even better.
Yes, indeed. And, the all-tournament team, I have that here. The all-tournament was, of course, the great Shakala Hill out of Grambling, Lyric Scott, Southern, the tournament MVP, Courtney Parsons out of Southern, Monisha Hamer out of Jackson State, and Christina Ellis out of Jackson State. And just to run down some of the awards for the SWAC, first team you had Shakala Hill, Grambling State, Charlotte Dobbins, Prairie View A&M, Nia Mitchell, Texas Southern, Monisha Hamer, Jackson State, Shantayla Harris, UAPB, all SWAC women's second team, Christina Ellis, Jackson State, LaKendra Bassett, Mississippi Valley State, Artavia Ford, Prairie View, Ayanna Emanuel, Alabama State, Isis Lane, Texas Southern, and the Player of the Year, and also the Defensive Player of the Year. Do I have to even call her name, Kels?
We know it's going to be Shakila Hill.
Shakila Hill out of Grambling State. And Freshman of the Year was Ayanna Emanuel, Alabama State. And Newcomer of the Year was Kasa Lucky out of Jackson State. Now, there was one award that I left out, and we have a guest on probably to talk about this. Yes, that's who that is. That's a Tiger. So, Kels, you're gonna have to switch.
Hold on, but yeah. Before we get to bring the person on, we got to take a commercial break. We have to.
Okay. We're gonna take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with more Black College Experience.
I already knew that I was gonna go to college, from a young age. I definitely want to major in political science. After that, I'm gonna get my law degree. Then I'm gonna come back to Detroit, boost the economy, become the mayor or something, try to make the situation better for other people. I feel like I owe it to the city. I'm determined. It's gonna happen. My name is Justin, and I am your dividend.
All right, we're back with more Black College Experience and Kels. We have a Tiger on. Charles, kind of mute your phone until you get ready to talk, man. Kels, I couldn't get another Jaguar fan on, so I'm going to need you to switch into fan mode to have this discussion. Can you do that? Can you transform like Optimus Prime into fan mode for me?
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Mm-hmm.
So, the coach of the year was your coach, Coach Carlos Funches, a veteran of the SWAC. But Coach Tamika Reed, in her first year, turned the Tigers around and got them to the SWAC championship game. A rookie head coach in her first year in the SWAC against another rookie head coach with veteran years in the SWAC. Should this have been a co-SWAC Coach of the Year award for Coach Funches and Coach Reed? Stomp on why you feel like Coach Funches is the true award winner for this award.
Well, I mean, aside from actually winning the championship and coming in as a first-year head coach, you battled back. You took some losses in the season, but you still came out on the top. And to go through the week and be able to win and secure that, that says enough. Now, I'm one of those people, I don't believe in participation trophies. I just don't. Oh, we made it. Oh, we did. It's either you won or you lost. That's just how it is, and that's just how. I don't care who the team is. Either you win or you lose. It's no, you made it and this, or you this. You either win or you lose. And in this case, Coach Funches came out the winner in this case.
Yes, and now the Tiger, Charles Bishop. What's going on, Charles?
Hey, DT, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Charles is doing some.
Okay, great.
He's our Tiger to come on and talk about why he thinks Coach Reed should have either been the Coach of the Year or why the award should have been Co-Coach of the Year.
Hi, Charles.
Hi, how you doing, Keisha? It was great seeing you this weekend.
Did you make it back safely?
Not yet. Still in the airport. Still here in Birmingham.
Now, Charles, go ahead and tell everybody who you are and what SWAC show you represent.
Yeah, Derek, I'm Charles Bishop, and I co-host Dr. Kabil's Inside HBCU Sports Lab. Of course, was Dr. Kabil, the data doctor. And, of course, we come on every Tuesday from 5:45 to 7:15. Based out of Houston, but we cover pretty much every school in HBCU athletics, whether we're talking sports or business. We're talking HBCU athletics.
Yes, indeed. So, now, switch out of co-host mode, switch into fan mode. Why Tamika Reed should have been the SWAC Coach of the Year, or why should it have been a co-Coach of the Year award?
Well, I think in this case they got it right. I don't have a problem whatsoever with Coach Funches being the Coach of the Year. I think when you take a look at Tamika Reed, from where Jackson State started, it started 1-4 in conference play, and to really get that team up and running and to get some cohesion through the course of the season and really kind of turning around. I think at one point Jackson State they had reeled off 6, maybe 7 wins in a row, if I'm not mistaken. But they had a little step back against Prairie View. But again, they were one of the hotter teams coming into the SWAC tournament. And I tell you what, they played a classic game against Prairie View in the SWAC tournament, double overtime game, where they really, put everything out there. So Tamika Reed has really stamped herself in terms of being a star in this league.
Yes, she has. And, I've been saying for the past couple of weeks, she's a personal friend of mine. We grew up together. I saw her play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I followed her coaching career as she got started. And to see her take our hometown team from the depths, like, when I was growing up, Jackson State women's basketball, I mean, that they had just as much exposure and excitement as the men did, because we had Lindsey Hunter and Ryan Lothridge for the Jackson State Tigers, and then on the women's side, you had Rosalind Spann. So,
yeah, well, when you take a look at Jackson State women's basketball, Sadie McGee really stamped that program, and they had some tremendous success under Hall of Fame coach Sadie McGee. And when you talk about Tamika Reed, she's a protege of Derek, as you well know, of Coach Anna Jackson, who is one of the most successful coaches in the state of Mississippi. She's now Mississippi Hall of Famer in terms of what she did with the Murrah women's basketball team. So Tamika Reed, she comes from a great, of course, she comes from great pedigree. And you really see a lot of that Anna Jackson influence in terms of the discipline the Jackson State women's basketball team and kind of the poise that they have, especially in close games. They lost a little bit in the SWAC tournament, but I tell you what, going forward, they are definitely a program that's on the rise.
Yes, indeed. I can't wait to see what she does next year, recruiting-wise, and just adding to her first-year success. Now, on to the men. Can't wait to see how we fare in the SWAC tournament tomorrow. I'm sorry, not SWAC tournament, the NCAA tournament. We're going to find out who the Lady Jaguars play tomorrow, right, Kels?
Correct. Correct. They pick us tomorrow's our selection.
All right. Now on for the men. Now, quarterfinals had Prairie View defeating Alcorn 86-66. Texas Southern defeated your Jaguars, Kels, who made a valiant effort to get into the tournament, finishing at the number 7 seed and coach in the coach's first year. So he's going to be a former coach at Valley who did lead our Delta Devils to a SWAC championship, losing to Texas Southern 80-70. Alabama State defeating Jackson State 67-59, and Grambling State defeating Texas Southern 59-52. All right. Now, next up, you had Prairie View defeating Grambling 81-71. Texas Southern defeating Alabama State 80-66. And in the championship game, it was a back and forth affair, against with Prairie View and Texas Southern. And these two teams have been battling all year. But Prairie View pulled out the win. Kels, since you and Charles were both there, go ahead and talk about what you saw as Prairie View was able to wrest this championship away from Texas Southern.
Well, in the beginning, Texas Southern actually came out. They were the stronger team in the beginning. They were at one point it was 10-4, and then it was maybe a 10-point lead. So Texas Southern was actually playing in the favor. They were doing really well, and for a while, Prairie View really couldn't get anything going. And then somewhere shortly after, they came away, and it's a battle back, and it's going from a battle of 2 points or 4 points to being all tied up at halftime. So, it's kind of like a battle between the two very defensive teams, and they played really well. But it was just Prairie View's season this year. It was just Prairie View's time. It was just their time this year. And
Charles.
both teams, deservingly, they both played really well, but I think it was just Prairie View's time.
All right, Charles.
Yeah, Derek, I think to echo what Keisha was saying in terms of this being Prairie View's year, they did a tremendous job, and I think they're one of the top teams in the country. I think one of the top 5 teams in the country in terms of steal. When you take a look at their on-the-ball pressure, I think that was one of the variables within the game that you really have to take a look at in terms of the stats. Texas Southern, of course, they out-rebounded Prairie, but Prairie was able to kind of stymie some of that advantage because they were able to force quite a bit of turnovers. I believe they had 26 points, if you will, off of the Texas Southern turnovers. But I think during the course of the season, both of these teams, they were on a collision course all season in terms of meeting up in the championship game. When you talk about Texas Southern, this is a team of pedigree. This is a team that I jokingly talked with Dr. Field about and called the SWAC tournament the TSU invitation, because Texas Southern, you almost can always count on them, especially within recent history. We're talking about from 2010 until now. Texas Southern is going to figure somewhere in the mix. It's for Prairie View to get in and for them to play as gritty as they did and really force some turnovers. I think that was key, and they were able to get the championship this year. Kudos to Coach Byron Smith in terms of taking Prairie View from where they were down a few seasons ago and to take them to the championship game against a formidable opponent like Texas Southern. You can't say enough about Coach Byron Smith. And I tell you what, one of the things that not too many people picked up on, but I think Coach Smith, he talked about in the post game, the way that Prairie View is able to switch out on defense. And they really have a lot of pieces that are able to guard from 1 to 5. And I think that was one of the determinants in the game that you really were able to take a look at in terms of just they being able to switch out so much and really cause havoc and keep Texas Southern's big men from really taking over in that game.
Yeah. Pep, PP, what did you think about this SWAC championship game?
I mean, either one of those teams that would have made it to the NCAA tournament, you want the best representation in the tournament, and if Texas Southern would have won, I think we would have fared well. But Prairie View has been playing best and the most consistent all season, and I'm kind of happy that they are in the play-in game because it gives a chance to show how well the nation show how well a job that Coach Smith has done. They put going up against another hot team, but the way the Prairie View is playing now, they're going to be a problem in that playing game. There's no doubt about it.
And Texas Southern last year won their game. So Prairie View is going to be looking to do it again. Now, who are we playing in the playing game?
Fairleigh Dickinson.
Fairleigh Dickinson, yeah.
Correct.
Indeed. And to run down our tournament team, Dennis Jones out of Prairie View, Devontae Patterson out of Prairie View, Gary Blackston out of Prairie View, he's the tournament MVP, Jalen Patterson and Jeremy Combs, both out of Texas Southern. And just to run down the awards for the SWAC, first team, Gary Blackston, Prairie View, Martavius McKnight, UAPB, Jeremy Combs, Texas Southern, Devontae Patterson, Prairie View, Javius McInnes, Jackson State. Second team, Ivy Smith Jr., Grambling State, Reginald G., Alabama State, Andre Kennedy, Alabama A&M, Chris Howell, Jackson State, and Emmanuel, let me know if I'm saying this right, PP, EJ, Mississippi Valley State.
Yeah.
And the player, you don't see this often here, the player of the year is also the newcomer of the year, Jeremy Combs out of Texas Southern, graduate transfer. A defensive player of the year is Dennis Jones out of Prairie View. Coach of the year is Byron Smith out of Prairie View. Freshman of the year was Javius McInnes, Jackson State. And you could have made a stunt for Johnny Jones of being a first-year head coach at Texas Southern, after his dismissal from LSU and working at North Texas. But Prairie View A&M's Byron Smith takes home the award. You just have to look at what Texas Southern did this year. Losing their head coach, losing what was the point guard's name that left? He was a dynamic player. I forgot his name.
Trey Jefferson.
Trey Jefferson.
Trey Jefferson does not leave Texas Southern. I mean, would he have been the spark plug to propel Texas Southern past Prairie View? We'll never know now. So, I mean, to lose a player of his caliber, first-year head coach, getting your team past ranked teams, Power 5 teams, as we would call them if we're playing football, and to still not win your conference or be there to win your conference, I mean, that just shows you how good Prairie View was. They were not afraid of Texas Southern's early season victories, and they went wire to wire, almost leading the conference from start to finish almost. So now we wait to see how we're going to do in the NCAA tournament. Can't wait to see what the women do, who they're going to play. It's just awesome. Now, to run down what's left in the SWAC. All right, we do have the bowling championship coming up soon. That's going to be, have that here. The SWAC Women's Bowling Tournament will be Friday, March 22nd through Sunday, March 24th in Arlington, Texas at Bowling ITRC. So good luck to the SWAC Women's Bowling team that they vie for a SWAC championship. Can't wait to see who comes out with the women's championship. Do have some scores from other sports, but we want to get to the MEAC. We may come back to the other SWAC scores in other action, but the MEAC also crowned champions. Go ahead, Kels.
Okay, so for the MEAC, of course, like I said, let's go back to North Carolina A&T. I actually had chose North Carolina A&T, the ladies basketball. So what happens is North Carolina A&T's the lady Aggies per se, they hadn't lost a MEAC game since 2018, and they did fall to Norfolk State 60-43. So it was one of those again. Whoever wants it bad enough is who's going to win, and that's how it happened. 60-43 is how they ended their season.
Wow!
So they did, and that was pretty shocking. But they did again. They did go on to they did go on to win it on that day. Again, it was pretty shocking, but it happened. And also with North Carolina A&T, they were knocked out. The guys were also knocked out. So I say this, Norfolk State was playing they've had a pretty good run, but of course North Carolina Central is who won it all. North Carolina Central, this is their third time, so they're 3-peat tournament champions. Their third consecutive win of winning the tournament championship, the MEAC tournament championship. So North Carolina Central is who won, and their coach was named outstanding coach of the year. And then of course, as far as the women, Bethune-Cookman ladies actually won the championship, or the tournament championship, and so their coach was named the women's coach of the year. Now this is their first NCAA tournament appearance in school history, so that's going to be pretty exciting for them. But again, Bethune-Cookman's ladies is who's going, and then North Carolina Central men is who's going.
Now, who is North Carolina Central playing?
North Carolina Central is playing North Dakota State. They're playing North Dakota State.
So, I mean, what do y'all think about our chances for winning that game?
Yeah,
Kels?
Central going to win.
Huh?
PP says Central's going to win. So, what do you think about our chances for winning that game?
I'm looking at Central as well, because if you look at, going, not even just the third time in the tournament, even looking at where Central played Texas Southern last year was pretty strong. So I think the mindset is shifted out of, we can't win because we're not this team, or we can't win because we're not a PWI. No, football and basketball is a totally different sport than football. This is all skill. So I believe athleticism is skill. I believe they have that chance to win.
Yes, Nick. Charles?
Yeah, I think when you take a look at North Carolina Central, and one of the things that I really picked up on in the MEAC tournament was the play of their bigs, their inside play. Of course, when you talk about HBCU basketball, you always kind of take a look at the guard play. North Carolina Central guard play really stepped up in the tournament, especially you're talking defensive pressure. But it was the play of the bigs getting offensive rebounds and keeping possessions against Norfolk State that I really honed in on with North Carolina Central. So if North Carolina Central can kind of keep that same momentum from the tournament, I think they have a tremendous opportunity to knock off North Dakota State. I've watched North Dakota State on a couple of occasions. They do have a couple of bigs that are going to be formidable for North Carolina Central. But again, like I said, if they can keep possessions alive. I think sometimes when you get in one and done formats, even when you miss shots, if you are able to keep possessions, get those loose balls and kind of reset and kick the ball a little bit, you have an opportunity to really put pressure on teams because you're going to be relentless on the board. So North Carolina Central is a team that I think can get that victory. Switching over to the women's side of the ball, Keisha, I was shocked as anybody to see North Carolina A&T lose because just keeping up with them during the course of the season, I was like, there's not a team that's going to be able to knock them off. So kudos to Bethune-Cookman for getting that done. Dr. Lynn Thompson, he adds another championship to the trophy case over there at Bethune-Cookman.
Go ahead, Charles. I think I lost you that last little statement you were about to make. You still there?
No, I was saying, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I was saying Dr. Lynn Thompson, athletic director at Bethune-Cookman, he adds another trophy to the trophy case over there at Bethune-Cookman. So kudos to the Bethune-Cookman women for getting it done against A&T. And when you talk about A&T, I call them the flagship in HBCU athletics, the way they were able to go out and go get championships nowadays. So to be able to kind of stop that little run for North Carolina A&T, especially on the women's side of the ball, kudos to the Bethune-Cookman women.
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely. And I mean, Coach Terrell Robinson is the women's coach over at North Carolina A&T. And I wanted to reach out to him and be like, hey, Coach. And then I was like, the sting is probably there. So you got to let the sting wear off. Because I'm like, okay, you coming off of just an unblemished 2 seasons. And then that happens, it got to be tough.
Right. And just to run down the award winners for this tournament, on the men's side, Douglas and Davis of NCCU and Kelly and Pitt of Norfolk State, along with Cameron Langley of North Carolina A&T, were named to the all-tournament team. Davis was named outstanding performer, and the most outstanding coach was Lavelle Moulton. On the women's side, you had Angel Golden was on the all-tournament team, joined by her teammate Brown and Eccles and James of Norfolk State, and Maryland Eastern Shore's Siani Byram. So congratulations to those young ladies. I mean, it's been an exciting basketball season. Can't wait to see who these teams will play in the tournament, and hopefully we can make some noise in this tournament and get some exposure for our HBCU institutions. Before going on to other sports, we do have some other HBCUs playing postseason basketball, and have them listed here. We're going to start off first in the Division I NAIA out of the GCAC. Dillard, the number 8 seed, fell to the number 1 seed, Freed Hardman, in the Naismith bracket. Number 6, Xavier, falls to number 3, Mid-America Nazarene out of Kansas in the Kramer bracket. Number 4, Talladega, defeated Menlo, California. They were the 5 seed. And then Talladega fell to number 1 seed, Campbellsville, Kentucky, in the Liston bracket. In Division II, NCAA, we had number 3, Virginia State, defeated number 6, Notre Dame, Ohio. They will face Liberty. Well, that game is probably over now. Number 2, Liberty, started at 4 p.m. Number 8, Miles, fell to number 1, Nova Southeastern. And the women's NCAA Division II, number 2, Virginia Union, defeats number 7, Edinboro, and they fell to number 3, Indiana, Pennsylvania. And number 8, Lane, fell to number 1, Florida Southern. Now, for the men's NAIA Division I, which starts in 3 days, the number 1 seed is an HBCU. And their head coach was a guest on the Black College Experience. That is Coach Thomas Billups, head coach of the Tougaloo College Bulldogs. His Bulldogs will face the number 8 seed, Mid-American Christian, Oklahoma, in the Kramer bracket. Number 5, Talladega, will take on number 4, Pikeville, Kentucky, in the Dewar bracket. And number 2, Stillman, will take on number 7, Oklahoma City, also in the Dewar bracket. So we want to congratulate all our HBCU teams playing in postseason play. I can't wait to see what Tougaloo does in their tournament. You know, they're a number 1 seed for a reason. Kels, what you think about the Tougaloo College Bulldogs?
And they also had a pretty strong season. They had a pretty good season, to say the least. And so they did a lot over in the GCAC because, you know, most of the times we talk about the Xaviers, we talk about the Dillards, but Tougaloo had a really strong season. And I think they kind of came back, and they did. They shocked me because, again, we look at Dillard, we look at Xavier, because those are like the two rivals. But Tougaloo made a strong presence. And I'm interested to see next year if Russ can make a run. Philander Smith, see what some of these other schools can do over in that conference to see if they can do. But I think Tougaloo will be fine.
Okay, Charles, what's your opinions on these HBCUs getting ready to start tournament play in the Division I NCAA?
Well, let me go back to Tougaloo real quick. And Derek, you well know, being from Jackson, Thomas Billups' prowess, especially on the high school rank, in terms of what he was able to do at Lanier. And to me, it was only a matter of time before he put his stamp on this Tougaloo Bulldog basketball program. What will be interesting as some jobs kind of come up, and his name is one of those names that kind of floats out there in the HBCU stratosphere, is if Thomas Billups will get a phone call from whatever school in terms of what he's able to do. He's a tremendous basketball coach. I'm looking forward to these games. I'm really looking forward to North Carolina Central and Prairie View. They did a tremendous job over the weekend in terms of getting into the NCAA tournament, and even on the NAIA level, to get an opportunity to watch Tougaloo and see what they can do against their team. It's a fun time. It's a fun time to follow HBCU athletics.
Right. And like you said, Coach Billups getting those phone calls. He stated on our show that both Jackson State, Alcorn, and Valley turned him down. What were those athletes thinking? You need college coaching experience? PP, with our struggling basketball program, would you go up there and personally recommend that they hire Coach Billups? Because I know on social media.
Let me put it like this. The coach that we currently have, 30 wins in 5 years, tell me why he still got a job. That's all I want to know.
Right.
If Billups, or there's several Valley alums that are doing well at the high school level as well. But Coach Billups he showed in 2 years at Tougaloo what he could do. They only lost 4 games this year, and they beat Valley. So,
isn't Ivory still a head coach?
Yeah, he's still at UAPB.
UAPB. So, and he's beating his alma mater like a drum. So bring him home. But I would love to see us hire Coach Billups. He brings instant credibility. I would hate for him to lose Tougaloo because he's local to Tougaloo. He's bringing in some quality players there. But you can only go somewhere for so long. I never thought he would have left Lanier. The man was at Lanier for as long as I can remember. So for him to leave Lanier, I was shocked. And then when him ending up at Tougaloo, yes, Charles, with us both seeing him dominate JPS over the years of us growing up, I knew he was going to turn Tougaloo College into a winner again. So I can't wait to see what these teams do. Now, jumping over to the SWAC, not much news in the SWAC because they were put out of their tournaments. But I do have some awards. Omar Alston has been named to the All-South Region team out of Morehouse, and Ariana Bay, one of my favorite players from Benedict. Unfortunately, I picked them to win the SWAC women's tournament, and they got eliminated. She was also named to the Division II CCA All-South Region team, and Kentucky State's another team that I picked to win the SWAC men's tournament. Kentucky State's Battalion Battle picks up all regional honors for the CCA. So congratulations to those players. Now, before we jump back into the SWAC and MEAC, a lot of people don't know I grew up playing baseball. And when I saw this posted, it kind of made me sad. But Winston-Salem State is eliminating their baseball program and bringing back men's golf. Now, I could understand if the program was struggling, but Winston-Salem State has been dominant. One reason why they're eliminating the baseball program because the CIAA, ended baseball in 2017, and Winston-Salem State has just basically been playing independent. So it's kind of hard to sponsor a sport that's independent, but it's successful. But they are bringing back men's golf. 8 student athletes will be on the golf team. Kels, what do you think about the reason why Winston-Salem State is eliminating their baseball team?
Well, if you're eliminating one thing but you're bringing another, I really don't have a complaint. And I think a lot of times people don't recognize this. And I'll say this about, we will use Hampton as our example. You have lacrosse, you have sailing, you have triathlon. You have 3 sports at Hampton that other schools do not do. Those are 3 things that other schools do. Well, lacrosse is not good, but the other 2 are 3 sports that you don't have that many golf teams right now. Some schools have them, not all schools do. As I talk to more and more students, particularly choosing HBCUs, they talk about golf all the time. I want to go to school and play golf. I can't tell you how many kids I talked to last week at the Black College Expo that said, I want to go to school on scholarship, and this is what I do extracurricular. One of their things was golf. So there's more and more people getting into golf, and I think we think if it's not football or basketball or baseball, that it's not going to work. But people don't realize that you can go, it's so many scholarships like tennis that you can go to school on full scholarship playing tennis, but people don't talk about it. You can go to school on full scholarship bowling, but people don't talk about it. You can go to school on full scholarships at golf, but people don't talk about it. So
right.
Taking one away but adding another is not a bad thing. Now, if they were just going to say, we're not putting nothing in that slot, I could see it, but I don't think it's a bad thing.
Charles, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, well, I think when you take a look at Winston-Salem State, like you both mentioned, there are financial challenges when you're an independent program. And for the CIAA to not have baseball teams on the whole, that creates a natural scheduling issue where you only have where Winston-Salem is more or less doing it alone. So,
right.
That's a huge issue in terms of going forward. I think there are emerging sports that I think, HBCUs are going to have to take a look at and see what are the financial challenges that are prevalent with those sports. You mentioned golf. Jackson State, of course, had a tremendous golf team.
Yes, Coach Payton.
That won the SWAC championship a number of years. Coach Payton, of course, and that was a program that they laid by the wayside. But golf, of course, is an emerging sport, especially in the African American community, of course, with the Tiger phenomenon. Another sport that I think is tremendously emerging is that of lacrosse. Of course, it's huge on the East Coast, but now you're starting to see a lot of club lacrosse teams across the South. In Texas, it has become huge in terms of that sport being one of those sports that a lot of, I'm not going to say affluent, but you'll see a lot of middle-class African Americans are starting to turn their attention to sports other than football, especially when you talk about CTE and all the challenges that football presents. So it will be interesting to see if HBCUs kind of stay ahead of the curve in terms of looking at emerging sports in terms of building competitive programs around the athletic department.
Well, it's funny that you say that, and this is one sport that Kels has been harping on for our HBCUs is swimming and diving. Howard University, one of the few HBCUs that have swimming and diving programs. And here's the thing. There's exposure for competitive swimming and diving. You can represent your country as a competitive swimmer and diver, bringing home gold medals. So imagine if when next gold medal winner was from an HBCU. Imagine the exposure that's going to come from that. Imagine if the next person who lacrosse is an Olympic sport too, right? I can't remember if it is. But if it's not, if it is, imagine if the next goal that wins a gold medal is from an HBCU player. I mean, the exposure that it's going to bring to our universities is amazing. I mean, don't get me wrong. You got 35 players on a baseball team, 8 on a golf team. Now you got 35 players who may have to transfer, and this happens in sports. But those young men they're not losing their sport because they weren't successful. I mean, if you look at Winston-Salem State over the last couple of years, they have been beating up on people. I think they sit at 16-7 right now on the young baseball season. So we'll take some of those athletes that are SWAC and MEAC schools. Stay at HBCUs. We have
For
places
baseball?
For baseball, yes.
Well, if you let's go there since you said that. If you look at Bethune-Cookman is knocking people out of the water. They just blew out Ohio State about 2 weeks ago, maybe 8-2 or 10-2 or something like that. They blew them out. So Bethune-Cookman is making that run on that side. It's the same thing with their softball team because they won the championship. They won that conference last year. They are making that run between softball and baseball at Bethune-Cookman. So I can see more of that coming in. I mean, if you look at where they are, you talking about you just going over to Miami to recruit the Cuban guys. So seriously, they're getting what they need from right next door in Florida. But I think they're going to make that run. And when we're talking about swimming, you talk about Howard that had a team they went from number 8 to number 1 in a season or so with their swim team. So that competition went real fast, and they competed.
Right.
And, Keisha, Derek, I would make the argument, especially with baseball, in terms of attempting to put more resources into baseball, because I think on the whole, from a competitive standpoint, baseball teams can really, there's no separation of powers, whereas football, you have FBS, FCS classification. But when you take a look at baseball teams, everybody, for the most part, they have, if I'm not mistaken, 11 and a half scholarships that they have to work with. And I think on the whole that you are able to make more headway with your baseball program in terms of a national exposure. You get, of course, I grew up playing baseball, but when you get enough arms in your bullpen, and that's something that we constantly talk about with HBCU programs, is having the pitching depth to be able to play on a national level. I think sometimes we see it once we get to the NCAA tournament play, the play 3 game, that you kind of run out of arms quickly, especially if you get in that losers bracket. But on the whole, we compete, HBCU, when I say we compete very well with national programs, and we see our programs go up against these programs, and they will get a win here and there. They get a good quality win. So I think, athletic directors are really going to have to start taking a serious look in terms of putting more resources into their baseball program.
It's funny you say that because a few years ago, Jackson State was down here playing ULL and LSU. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Tigers did win one of those games, if I'm not mistaken. And they have
at the time
Lafayette was the number 1 team in the country.
They were number 1 team, exactly. Yes, they were. So that was a case where Jackson State was able to go down there and get a victory against the number 1 team in the nation. But again, we talk about depth. Once they got to that second game, they started running out of pitching depth and things of that nature. And subsequently, they went down. But again, like I said, the resources that you are able to kind of focus or shift toward the baseball program could pay huge dividends in the long run.
I agree with you. And Kels, your Jaguars has a legendary coach that was able to navigate pretty well. Coach Kador, he's now advising the current Southern baseball coaching program. So, hopefully he can get your Jaguars back on top. And I agree with you, Charles. I really do think schools should start.
Do you have baseball scores? Do you have baseball scores?
Do I have baseball scores?
Well, I can tell you. I can tell you this: Southern took 2 or 3 from Texas Southern this weekend, and they had some classic one-run games. So
we did.
Yes, you did get
we did a 1-0
today, 8-7.
Yep, 1-0 last night, 8-7 today. So Coach Jones is trying to. I was like, that's the only thing I really saw as far as like the baseball. I saw that part, but
they got a couple of wins in the middle of the week. I think they beat a bigger school. Southern did.
Yeah, so I have some scores start on Friday. I don't want to talk about anything that happened on Wednesday because, Mississippi State and LSU, that just, oh, my God. Texas Southern defeated Southern 1-0. Alcorn defeated Prairie View A&M 11-9. Alabama A&M defeated Alabama State 5-4. Grambling shut out UAPB, though that was Friday's games. On Saturday, Southern returned the favor, defeating Texas Southern. Our Delta Devils PP shut out Jackson State. Alabama State hammered Alabama A&M, and Alcorn hammered Prairie View 12-1. Grambling defeated UAPB 5-4, and Jackson State returned the favor, hammering us 11-1 in Ilabena. Today's games only have 3 results. We got hammered again by Jackson State 13-3. Grambling State defeated UAPB 4-1. Alabama State defeated Alabama A&M 6-5. And I do have some softball news as well. SWAC Players of the Week. The hitter of the week is Kristen Gunter out of Alabama State. And the pitcher of the week is Kayla Owens out of Jackson State. And softball scores are as follows. And, you know, I would love to see our softball team get back to our winning ways that we had on the Lee Smith when we won all those SWAC championships. But starting with Friday's games, Alabama A&M defeated UAPB 4-3. Prairie View defeated Alcorn 3-1. Jackson State defeated Southern 5-3. Alabama State defeated Grambling 2-1. And today's games, Prairie View shut out Alcorn 9-0. Southern defeated Jackson State 4-1. Alabama A&M defeats UAPB 10-2. Alabama State defeats Grambling 3-5. We dropped a game to Texas Southern 5-1. Jackson State defeated Southern 5-3. Alabama State shuts out Grambling 12-0. Alcorn loses to Prairie View 9-7. Texas Southern defeats Valley 6-3. Today's games. Let's see how many today's games we have. We only have one game listed for today, and we lose another game at home to Texas Southern 6-5. So, just like you say, we should improve baseball, Charles. I definitely think we should shift resources to softball as well, because softball is the Olympic sport that the United States is very competitive in. And I would love to see some of our HBCU players getting a chance to make that Olympic team. There are professional softball leagues. So, I mean, there is room for growth in all sports, not just football and baseball. I'm kind of glad that we had this discussion, because a lot of teams, a lot of schools, a lot of fans don't necessarily focus on their non-money sports. And even though they may not generate money during the school year, a lot of money, but if you have a great player, they could come back and generate buzz for your school. Look at Ricky Weeks for Southern. And he's doing great things in the community. Yeah. I mean, I just think that's awesome. Kels?
Exactly, Derek.
I agree.
Yeah. So we got about...
No,
we're almost out of time. We got about 2 minutes left. See if I have any recaps I want to just run down right quick. Kels, you have anything you want to close us out with?
I do. Before we go, this isn't sports related, but got to get a kudos right now to, I say brother, because I figure it's brother. Brother HBCU Morris Brown College.
Oh, yes.
Right now, their interim president has submitted the initial inquiry application to begin seeking accreditation, and he announced that it has been accepted by TRAC. So he has a meeting on April 10th to go through the orientation process. So it's been 17 years for Morris Brown, and it is our prayer that this process and this journey is going to get their accreditation back, and that Morris Brown will be safe back in the AUC.
Yes, indeed. That is great news. Any update on Bennett College? I know you've been really, really supporting that cause.
So Bennett is still going through. You know, they did get the accreditation reinstated from of course, Atlanta judge at the time. So I think they're still in the process. It's still a fight for them, but as far as any updates, they haven't given any more. And, of course, everybody's in the retool your school. So for my school, y'all school, everybody's school, like, please go vote. I know right now Alabama A&M, well, Tennessee State is ahead of Alabama A&M. Jackson State is ahead of Southern, so I think we're fourth. Jackson State will be third. And this is in our cluster. I don't know what's like in Valley where y'all are, but I know we're fourth. Jackson State is third. A&M is second, and Tennessee State is first. So, it's $50,000 that you get from your school just to go vote, depending on who has the most votes. And I think that's the simplest thing you can do for your school. I mean, it's just too simple. So, aside of that, there will be no show next week because I will be gone to a wedding.
Who's getting married?
One of my classmates is getting married, and her fiance is a Sigma, and they both went to Auburn. They both went to Auburn.
All right.
No,
LB, go ahead with that last statement, LB.
No, I wasn't going to say anything.
I thought you were going to say something about the retool your school.
Alcorn is currently ahead of Valley, but stay tuned for that because there might be some disqualification going on with Alcorn for sure. I don't know about Valley, but Alcorn for sure.
Charles, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, first and foremost, I want to say thank you, Derek and Kels, for bringing me on to the HBCU experience. Keisha, of course, it was tremendous seeing you again. I always say Keisha, she's the hardest working young lady in HBCU sports, so it was good to see her out there at that SWAC tournament. And thank you guys once again for bringing me on. Of course, I co-host the show with Dr. Gill every Tuesday from 5:45 to 7:15. You can see us on the Inside the HBCU Sports Lab Facebook Live page. We carry it. Of course, we're on KCOH 92.2, The Boost in Houston, Texas. Again, every Tuesday, 5:45 to 7:15. Thank you, Derek, for inviting me on.
Yes, sir. Even though you try to throw that Murray Mustang reference in there, I'm going to let you have it.
Why not?
Out of here. And of course, Kel said we are off next week. So in 2 weeks, we'll be back with more Black College Experience. We are out of here. Good night.
Good night.